Welcome to episode 89 of New Money Talks.
That was phenomenal. Good
All
job.
right.
Usually it takes like 2, 3, 4 takes, so you hit it on your first. I'm excited here. We have the founder of Nori, Courtney Toll. Honestly, an awesome brand. I think I saw you guys first maybe 2, 3 years ago, and you guys have. I was reading an article before this, and you guys have doubled every year since you guys launched. So definitely super excited to be chatting with you. Um, you guys are a fully omni-channel brand too, which is also exciting. I think that's like a big play in the space. And someone I was talking to before we hopped on was like, I saw an end cap at Target with Nori. So I was
That's
like, this is an exciting conversation to have with Courtney. Usually, how I like to start these is kind of tell the people who you are, what you do, what Nori is, and I don't like doing full origin stories, but I kind of want to hear how you guys thought of this and made this because like it's actually very interesting. So please, like, tell me who Courtney is and what
yeah,
Nori is.
amazing. Yeah, so my name's Courtney. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Nori. I typically like to start with the name itself because it sort of
Yeah.
blends into the story. So Nori is iron spelled backwards. I'm not sure if you put that
Oh
together.
wow.
It's typically a bit of a shock to most people when they put it together, but it very much grounds the initial vision and I guess ongoing incentive for why we continue to innovate in this space.
Totally.
Basically, this was a brand that stemmed from a personal pain point. I was living in New York City in this tiny New York City apartment, and I would wake up in the morning wanting to get dressed and look professional for sort of my first professional job. And I would just wake up in the morning and I didn't even have the space for an ironing board. I didn't own one. I hated this leaky steamer I had from Bed Bath and Beyond. I couldn't afford dry cleaning. And so I started to iron my clothes with my hair straightener. And this was sort of a hack that both my co founder and I would use all the time in professional life and otherwise. And really, it put a spotlight on this massive market that is ironing and steaming and even larger clothing care that just
Mhm.
hadn't seen any meaningful innovation since the introduction of the steamer in the 1980s. One of the very few consumer markets that hasn't seen innovation.
Okay.
So we set out on this 2+ year product development and customer discovery journey to create a next generation steam iron that would totally change the way people think about ironing. Hence, the name that was born, which is Nori, and eventually we introduced to market our hero product, the Nori Press.
That's phenomenal. And people who are watching this might know this about me. I don't think you know this. So I actually owned a men's care brand, and our
Really?
hero product was this thing called the beard straightener.
Oh
And
my gosh, that's awesome.
and what it was a woman's hair iron, like the bristles in a sense, not like a double flap type of thing, but to straighten your beard. So you guys did the same type of thing, but with double flap, but for clothing.
Yeah, exactly. And that
Yeah,
was really the idea was like this elongated hair straightener, reach across the garment, let's
sure,
add some fabric settings, let's add a steam setting, and let's just optimize it for clothing. But it's that same technology that just
definitely.
straightens clothing.
And you worked a full time job as you were developing this. Were you doing it simultaneously, like, or did you just kind of quit your job and start the brand? How'd that look like?
Very much simultaneously.
Okay,
So I don't know about you. I'm pretty risk averse,
I
actually.
am as well. Yeah,
Really, I actually
yeah,
think it typically makes a good entrepreneur, but I just was nervous to step out on sort of this crazy idea. So I had just graduated college. So I remained in my full time job
okay,
for a little over a year. My co founder remained even longer in her job as we worked on Nori during the nights and weekends, starting to formulate a budget, a product development plan, um, potentially a little bit of office space. We did some fundraising while still in our jobs.
sure.
So anyways, by the time we actually took it out as a full time venture, we had such a clear game plan for how we thought we could bring this to market and made it feel a lot less risky.
So you actually built a business plan before you launched the business. Like,
Oh, sorry.
can you hear me?
Yeah, you broke a little bit. Say it
No,
again.
I was saying you actually built a business plan before you launched the business.
Yes,
I feel like
exactly.
people don't do that, and like you actually did.
I know. I think it was probably the like university still in us. Like we were
Sure.
just out of college. So we were like, okay, we need this feasibility analysis on will this work? And we came up with sort of a general revenue model. And one of the big things that we had decided was this was a market that lived pretty much exclusively in big box retail. Whereas most consumer markets were transitioning to online purchases. So we decided that we wanted this really sort of elevated, stylized brand alongside new technology. And we thought the best way to sell that would be through direct to consumer. So
It's
really the
like
first ever.
chic high end product in a sense, right? Like
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Like an upgraded iron, like the Dyson hair wrap of irons.
yeah. I love it. And the product isn't easy to develop because it's a hard good. It's an electronic hard good, right? Um, and you're a young college grad, first 2 3 years out of college. Like, how do you go and develop this product? It's actually like a different product that didn't even exist. Like, were you like, hey, here's a hair iron. I want this to be for clothes. Like, I'm curious how that process looked like with the manufacturer.
Yeah, it's so funny how you like look back at how progress was made and you just see yourself as so much more naive than you even knew when you got
Definitely.
started. But yeah, we just threw ourselves into it. I think we were really motivated by the lack of innovation, what we thought was a really good idea to sort of fill that gap. So we started to research product development firms based in the US,
Okay.
and we ended up meeting with 19 different firms while still in our full time jobs, and landed on a group that actually had a real expertise in building irons and steamers, coffee makers, things that dealt with steam and controlled heat. And that is sort of how we were able to move forward with our very general idea of this hair straightener turned to iron. And they really took that simplified brief and made it into this beautiful, highly complex hardware
Yeah,
product.
definitely. And like that process, you said took around 2 years from ideation till first product.
Yeah, it really was significant. Hardware is typically fairly capital and time
Sure.
intensive. So we went through countless rounds of prototyping. We
You
had
have
to
to do
actually,
probably multiple molds and all that type of stuff too, right?
oh my gosh, a hundred
Yeah,
percent. And the aesthetic part was like the easy part. You know, that was the part that we kind of knew we could handle. But just the internals, how it would operate, ensuring that it really was meeting the needs of what inspired that like initial pain point, the frustrations of existing market solutions. We wanted to make sure that this product was really answering that,
definitely.
and therefore it just took a lot of time.
Yeah, I hear you. So like those 2 years you're working on the product, how do you know that it's going to even sell? Because I think that's a big thing people think about. It's like, okay, I can build a product. It can, to you, it might be amazing. To a few people, to your friends, it might be amazing. But how do you know that you can sell $20 million worth of this product? Like, kind of, did you have any tests that you were trying? Did you like run any Facebook ads? Did you like any landing pages, or you were just like, we're gonna try it and let's see if it works type of thing? I'm curious of that too.
Yeah, I wish I could say we were like super smart. I read that book, Selling Naked. I'm not sure
Okay,
if you're
I
familiar with
haven't
it.
know.
Okay, and it's that exact idea. It's like how to validate an idea before you ever bring it to market, run landing page tests, run collection ads off of Meta. We didn't do that. We did customer discovery. I think we
Okay.
sat down with about 500 consumers
Oh
um,
wow, a
to
lot.
understand if they would be interested in this product, what they might pay for this product, what features they'd want to see. But I can't say that we had like an incredible amount of data to back this. We just felt as though, you know, we were the target consumer. If we were feeling this need, hopefully it would be something that other people would feel at scale. But I don't think we had any idea just how quickly it would catch on.
I think the like the customer interviews is important though. Like 500 people is not a little amount of people. How'd you even find 500 people to talk to about this? Like, where did you even start?
Yeah, so we leaned on our university a lot.
Okay.
So the initial idea had come to us sort of the summer before our senior year when we were interning in the city and living in that really small apartment. So when we got back to Wake Forest, we used a lot of their resources and had much more time to conduct those types of interviews. So it was a mix of like in person surveys and then just broader based university
Sure.
surveys that helped us collect that amount of data.
Definitely. And then you launched the brand. What year did the brand launch?
2021.
21. Got it. So then this is like the $1 million question. How'd you guys grow so fast? That's
It's
a
really
problem.
funny
Yeah.
because we launched kind of coming out of COVID. And it was this funny time where I think a lot of people, when we were in building phase, questioned the necessity for this type of product. Like during COVID, everyone was living in athleisure and sweatpants, and
Hmm.
people were saying like professional wardrobes are out. It's never going to come back. So why would you need this type of product? But really, I think what ended up happening was there was this immense amount of cabin fever coming out of COVID, and all of a
Would
sudden,
you call it cabin fever?
yeah,
What's that?
cabin fever, like when you've just been locked up inside
Oh,
for
I
so
got
long
it.
and you're like eager to get back out. So I think people wanted to dress up again. They were excited to be out and
Sure.
about. So the relevance of a product like Nori was really resonating with people.
What is up, New Money Talks fam? Super excited to tell you about our awesome sponsor today. It's actually my business, Ship Dudes. Check us out, shipdudes.com. I don't know if you guys knew this, but I've been running a 3PL for over 5 years now. We have locations all over the country and have helped amazing brands go from just an idea to shipping hundreds of thousands of orders. We've even helped brands launch into retail like Vitamin Shop, Target, Costco, and Sephora. If you're an awesome e-commerce founder, but you're not happy with your 3PL partner or your operations in general, reach out to us. Check us out, shipdudes.com. If you're a founder who's shipping orders out of their garage or their mom's basement, trust me, I've been there before. Hit us up. We can definitely help. Shipdudes.com. And lastly, if you do book a time with us, make sure you put in the notes that you came from New Money Talks. We will definitely take care of you. I've even given free fulfillment months for people coming from the pod. So, anyways, appreciate you all. Check us out. Sponsor for this video is Ship Dudes. And back to the pod.
But really, our growth was fueled by initial meta success. We just did a
Okay.
ton of testing with different UGC mashups and long form UGC videos. We were profitable on first sale pretty much from day one, and we were able to just ramp it incredibly quickly.
Definitely. Like I've been in e-commerce in a while, and I think kind of the formula is like high average order value with like consumable product that like kind of gets you there. And you guys have a high average order value product, and you guys have like sprays and extra stuff that is the consumable piece to kind of attach onto it. Off like initially, how long did it take you to be like profitable first purchase? Was this like a 1 month thing, a 6 month thing? I'm curious like how much you had to even spend to figure out, oh, this actually is like the offering that works.
I would say that on first purchase, we were profitable within the first 3 months. The
Okay.
Nori press is incredibly demonstrative. When you're watching it work, you're watching wrinkles disappear as you press a garment. And so I think it was sort of this as seen on TV type of product that just led to really high conversion rates on Meta. So we saw affordable CACs pretty quickly. We obviously started at really low levels of spend. $500 a day, $1,000 a
Mm-hmm.
day. And then we're able to ramp pretty quickly based off of profitability. The business didn't become fully profitable until last year.
Okay. And like this meta spend and just meta in general, is this in house or are you guys using an agency for this?
So we started by using an agency, and
Okay.
the agency was actually an investor in Nori, which was a great setup because I think there was this sort of mutual interest in seeing
Sure.
success. And then by the time we reached $5 million in sort of our first full year of business, we felt like we sort of needed a little bit more like hands-on support, and so we actually found an incredibly talented media buying freelancer sort of that partners with a handful of brands every year. And he was able to really take this over. He's in it every single day, scaling it up by the hour, by the weekend, and he really helps contribute to that doubling that we've seen year
Sure.
over year.
Because I'm curious, would you say like it's better to go agency route or like in-house route? What do you think is better? Or it
Well,
depends.
agency.
Yeah.
We are, doing mid eight figures in revenue, and we're a 3-person full time team. So
Wow.
we are agency, pro agency through and through, but maybe even more so than agency. I'm actually more pro like find the most talented freelancer possible. I actually think sometimes individuals are the best way to go. For example, we found like the former head of PR at Aritzia took us on as a passion project. Media buyer from Bombas took us on as a passion project. And that's really been the way to get like super, super talented individuals that we probably couldn't afford to bring in house to handle different parts of Nori's marketing stack without having to rely on like the full agency.
Sure. So like as a founder, then like I'm assuming a lot of your time is probably spent finding these people and like convincing these people of Nori being a big thing, right?
Yes, it's all about networking, which I'm sure you probably,
Yeah.
think a lot about as well. But one of the cool things about entrepreneurship is I just think so many people have been helped along the way that
Mhm.
typically most people are open to a conversation or pointing you in the right direction. And that has served us really well in identifying the right partners.
No, definitely. No, because it's actually interesting because I feel like there's a weird connotation in the space where people are like, "Oh, agencies suck." But once in a while, you're just like a brand like you guys had a great experience with the agency, where like it actually helped the business grow. You guys were aligned. I feel like that probably did make a big impact that you were aligned, where they invested in you, and therefore they had an incentive for this to actually grow, not just charge you a retainer and not care about the brand. Because I feel like that happens a lot in the space. Um,
Exactly. And half the battle is also like getting really smart yourself. I think where a lot of brands sometimes sputter out being overly reliant on agencies is that they take, the feedback or steady state of an agency as fact.
mm,
And we really threw ourselves into, as founders, trying to understand the ins and outs of paid media or the ins and outs of Amazon marketing or the ins and outs of PR so that we could sort of work right there alongside them and question some of the decisions being made. So
or
I think it's just trying to hold agencies accountable the exact same way you do internal employees, um, knowing that you can walk away the same way you could fire someone.
definitely. And I hear you say PR over and over again. Is PR part of the strategy for you guys?
Yes, PR has been a huge part of our strategy. I wouldn't say necessarily because of the like organic impact of PR, but often because of the ability to repurpose PR. So we have been in Vogue and Town and Country and Forbes. We were one of Oprah's favorite things. We were just on the
I did
Today
see that. I saw
Show.
the Oprah thing. That's awesome.
Yeah, literally like best day ever. But it's those types of things that I think, on their own, there's typically an organic lift, but being able to repurpose certain press placements in a paid capacity and use that as a source of credibility, I think, pays dividends.
Definitely. Like the business, the way it's structured. I know you guys started D2C, obviously, but you guys are on Amazon. You guys are in retail. What does that split look like across the different channels? And is there any channel other than those three that you guys are selling into, or is that really it?
So we started 100% direct to consumer.
Mm-hmm.
And then by year two, we started to open up Amazon in conjunction actually with Oprah's favorite things. So then we were direct to consumer in Amazon. And even by the end of last year, we were still 90% those two channels. We had some specialty retail, including Nordstrom and Bloomingdale's and Williams Sonoma, but not nearly the volume of the online channels. But super exciting is this year we have just launched in Target. So that has been this amazing source of new growth where now for the first time, we're taking a product that is traditionally sold in the store and we're actually starting to open up those channels, which we feel is a real sort of inflection point for
Cool.
growth.
And I'm assuming you thought this question was going to come, but how did you get into Target? How did that
Yes.
happen? Yeah.
So, kind of like everything, we started to run this sort of RFP for a broker for Target. And there's a few like really big names in the space in terms of brokerage. But we actually found a much smaller broker group. Again, this is sort of what we like to prioritize smaller, super smart, former Target buyers. They live on the Target campus and they sort of were able to arrange a conversation between
Sure.
Nori and the category buyer. Lucky for us, this is a market that's sort of wide open. There isn't much happening in it. It's dominated by legacy conglomerates. So I think we were able to show him some of our online efficiencies, specifically on Amazon and the market share that we've won there. And he very quickly got excited about both the velocities and margin profiles and granted us nationwide. So it was a really exciting pitch and conversation.
Well, I think that's an interesting point that you made because, like, for example, a protein bar going to Target is probably the hardest. There, like a
Oh my
shampoo
gosh.
or a deodorant, these are just really hard categories. But you're just like, hey, nope, I'm not competing with anybody.
Yeah,
Which is
exactly.
interesting. like I have a buddy who runs a brand, Flings. I don't know if you've heard of Flings. It's like a protein Pop Tart,
Wow.
and it's the same kind of idea with you because like the only competitor is Pop Tart.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, we're like the cool, new, high protein, healthy for you Pop Tart. So whether sales are not amazing, they're going to keep us on there because like we're the only other option. And I
Yeah.
feel like you guys kind of carved out your own section on the shelves in a sense, right? It's kind of like that.
100%. And I will say, looking back, we definitely had like the privilege of pitching into a market that was pretty untouched. But I also think one thing that was told to me that really helped move the conversation forward was showing success on Amazon. Because I think it's one thing to have, success on direct to consumer site when you're having a direct conversation with the customer. But what about when they're just searching for a product in your category and you're sitting next to the same products on Amazon you might sit next to on a Target or Walmart shelf?
Yeah,
And if you can show that you're meaningfully competing in that arena, I think it's a really clear story to tell for Target.
definitely. And like, I'm assuming you guys use an agency for Amazon, or do you guys do Amazon in house?
Yeah, we use an agency.
That's awesome. So like literally it's like there's three of you and then just like hub and spoke model in a sense where you guys are managing a whole bunch of partner relationships, call it, and you can interchange them whenever you want, right? So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
That's an
we've
interesting model because I feel like people are just like, I gotta hire, I have to hire. But then your burn kind of gets all out of whack like that. Your way is just like, well, if they're not doing well, I can just cut it and test another one type of thing.
yeah. And I think it's like a happy medium of investing in agencies or really smart, talented freelancers on channels that need external support. Most of our channels we're handling internally. The three of us are just dividing and conquering. And that probably sounds pretty crazy, but I do think that there's been this adjustment in the market, like you said, of venture backed companies that used to just hire for the point of hiring.
Sure.
It really is unbelievable what you can get done with such a small team. And the benefit, of course, is that you can scale your company based on efficiencies. So when efficiencies are there, you scale up. But when they're not there, you can pull back because you don't have very high OpEx. So,
Definitely.
you don't have to just spend to spend. And that has definitely been a positive for us.
Was all of this in the business plan when you started or no?
No, I would love to. I haven't looked at that business plan in a while, but I have to imagine it's like outlandish.
We should put it up here and just see what it looks like.
Yeah, probably makes zero sense.
So there's three. Is it three co-founders or two co-founders and one employee? Has that? What's the split?
Two co founders and one head of organic acquisition
Okay.
and community.
Well, I'm curious, like, how do you guys split, like, workload and responsibilities between the three of you? What does that look like?
So I am a little bit more market facing. So I handle fundraising, I handle finances, I handle pretty much everything relating to direct to consumer marketing efforts, and more of the wholesale side of the business that's newer and growing. And then my co founder, Annabelle, is kind of an operations genius. She does supply chain, inventory planning. She runs our entire Amazon channel. And then she's also sort of tag teaming things like corporate gifting and hospitality relevant to our products.
Sure. Are you guys like all remote as well too, or are you right next to each other type of thing?
I mean, best case scenario, we're sitting right next to each other, where we often go into like a WeWork together in New York City, but technically the whole company is
Yeah.
remote.
Well, it's crazy how you can run a 20+ million company with three people. Like the last podcast I did, it's $120 million company this year, and I think he said he has 9 employees.
That's the goal. Like,
Yeah,
honestly, it's unbelievable what you can get done by finding the right people to outsource to, not overstaffing, like being humble enough to just stay so hands on as a founder.
sure.
Um, so I do think we'll hopefully start to beef up a little bit, maybe 4 employees, maybe 5 employees. But I really do think companies can reach $100 million plus and keep teams of under 10.
I hear you. Let me turn this off. So obviously the trajectory is like this. Has there ever been like not going up and to the right? I'm curious. Like, or has it always just kind of been like we're keep growing, like there's demand for this, let's just kind of keeping the product in stock in a sense? Because I'm sure that's probably an issue you guys have dealt with, like product going out of stock and everything growing so fast.
Exactly. I think that's been like the biggest barrier has been inventory management. We've fallen into situations where we're out of stock, where we are flying over significant amounts of units, which is just a huge hit to gross margin. And then obviously, hate to talk about it, but the tariffs of it all this year, we were obviously a totally unforeseen roadblock that definitely changed our approach over the last 2 months and now is sort of starting to remedy.
I was gonna say like if you're open to it, I'm curious like how much they actually affect your business because I feel like some brands that I talk to are like they're kind of more CPG brands where like they're manufacturing products in America, like it's like a food bev type of thing. There are stuff in China as well too, but I'm curious like how much does your cost structure change? Like actually like I guess this week it's at 30-ish% or whatever it is. Last week it was like 140. Like does this make a real big impact on the business?
Massive. So, Nori does manufacture in China. We are transitioning our supply chain to partially be in other parts of Asia. But this is an industry that has been very much specialized to China. Electronics typically are made in China.
Mm-hmm.
There's the workforce, the levels of certification and inspection are really optimized over there. So, to put it simply, had it stayed at 145%, it would have been catastrophic. I mean, for a company to feel as though their cost, just their cost, went up 145%, there's really only two options. One is, you have to really change your financing structure to help support what is hopefully a short term issue, or you have to pass that on to the customer, or there's no margin.
Sure.
So I think it's incredibly difficult because it is on the company to cover it.
Yeah.
They have to swallow that margin. And so the switch from 145 to 30 is an incredible step in the right direction, and allows us to continue to move inventory. We were in a holding pattern waiting for negotiations for like 45 days, while we waited for some of the
Wow.
dust to settle.
I'm curious, like what does your lead time look like too for this product? Like
So
months?
we place an order and we can have 10,000 units done in 38 days. And
Okay.
then it's a matter of bringing them over. So if we bring them over via air, maybe you have them in 10 to 14 days. But if you bring them in via ocean, you're looking at like 45 days on the water.
Got it. So like realistically like 2 months per
Yes, at
order
least.
that you're placing.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm curious then too, because you said like inventory planning and all that was a hard piece for you over the last 3 years. What are some things you guys actually do, like have been doing to improve that as well? Because I actually have stuff that I think is good to do, but I'm curious like kind of what you guys are doing as well.
Yeah. So I think from like a profitability perspective, our goal is always to be able to bring things over via ocean freight. It's just like a fraction of the price versus
Mhm.
air. So because we don't have inventory that is expiring, there's no shelf life to our inventory. We are trying to transition to a model where we sort of bring over more than typically expected. That more is often even exceeded by our growth, and that's what's happened in the past. But I think now that we're in sort of our fourth year of operations, we're starting to see more consistent trends in consumer behavior in certain months. And so we're just trying to land sort of beyond what we foresee needing.
Sure.
And sell through it in a worst case scenario. But it's it's a Goldilocks situation. Like you're
No,
never in a perfect position.
no, I know, and like it's funny because like well, when I ran the brand and we had the beard straightener in a sense, it
Yeah.
was the same type of delays and everything. I'll tell you one thing I did figure out, and I've told
Yes.
people this many times, which is actually very interesting. So say like I wanted 10,000 beard straighteners, but I knew it would take like 30 days to make it, another 30 days for it to be delivered. When I would tell a manufacturer in China, it was like, hey, make me 40,000 beard straighteners. And then I would just pay them like 20% up front for them
Yeah.
to start making it. And then the 40,000 would be done. And then I would be like, okay, ship me just 10,000 of the 40,000 and I'll pay you whatever the next 60% or 50%,
Yeah.
and just hold the other 30,000, so that like when I need the next 10,000, it's already done. I don't have to wait the 30 days. But I didn't
Yeah.
actually have to pay for that other 30,000 fully. Just paid like the deposit in a sense.
Yeah.
And I've
No.
told all my brands to do this because I'm just like, don't go out of stock, but like honestly, have your manufacturer pre-make it. Like they
Yeah.
take a little more risk than you do, but like it is what it is. You don't have to wait for them to make it over and over again.
Yeah, no, that's honestly brilliant, and it's funny because I think our response to that window of tariffs when we couldn't move goods at 145%,
Yeah.
we sort of started to do that, which we were like, you know what, let's have optionality, let's like ramp up some goods and have them ready for when the time comes and we
Mm-hmm.
feel like at a rate where we should be landing goods. And then similarly, let's transition to other parts of Asia to have other goods cooking at any given time.
Sure.
So, for better or for worse, there were some productive conversations to come out of this sort of tariff roller coaster. But that's like amazing that you were so ahead of the time in that.
No, I remember that because like it was literally just like every time we would get it, we'd sell out, and then we'd go on to back order or just out of stock, and I'm just like, I can't do this forever, right? So like, how do we combat this? Like, well, if I tell the people in China, hey, make me more of them, they'll make more of them, and they'll only ask me for X% up front, and it'll be done. So like, next time I need it, they can either airship it. I mean, it'll be here in like a week or two, or they
Yeah,
can put it on the boat and it'll be here in 30 days. But it's already, I don't have to wait that 30-day piece for them to make it. Um,
yeah,
and
that's so brilliant. So, what did you end up like? Where did you come up with the idea for the beard straightener? Was that just
um,
something that you had
I
thought
can
of?
give you the real, I can give you the real story or the fake story. So
We are
the
real.
half baked story is like my partner Joe. We've been friends since the third grade. He has a very big beard, like
Yeah,
bigger than I do. So he was actually like in a lot of our ads back in the day. We actually ended up selling the brand to one of our current customers that we fulfill for.
so cool.
That's like half baked story. The real story is we started in like affiliate marketing and drop shipping world. That's like where I
Yeah.
started in e-commerce. And actually, Kyle, who I do the podcast with, on a random day, I was in college, and he sends me a text. He's like, "Hey, I tested this product called the Beard Straightener. It was break even for me. You should try it." So like Joe and I just tried it like drop shipping wise, and I think we did like 150K in sales in like 30 days,
Oh my
just,
God.
just like drop shipping it. And I was like, okay, well this product works, and like we had learned the whole thing of like high average order value, like subscription item on the back end, and like Manscaped was like a big brand at that
Yeah.
point. So I was like, okay, like let's just copy Manscaped, like physical good, electronic physical good with like an upsell subscription. So then we just bought 1,000 of them. Like I reached out to a manufacturer in Alibaba. I was like, I need 1,000 of these. Um, and like honestly, like there wasn't a thing called the beard trainer. It was more just like woman's hair heat
Yeah. You
thing.
rebranded.
Yeah, and I just rebranded it. I was like, I want it to be black, and I want it to have this logo, and like you have like this handle and this top piece like on two different brushes, put into one and make it was like that type of thing. But yeah, we bought 1,000 of them, sold out of those and very quickly. And I was like, okay, now we need 5,000, sold out of that. And like we just had a subscription piece where like we would upsell like shampoos, conditioners, and
Yeah.
like beard oils. But we kept falling into the back order issue where like it would come, we'd have 4,000 back orders, we fulfill them, and we only had 5,000 units show up, and then we just had
Yeah.
no more stock. So I think Joe was like to me, this is like back in like 2016,
Yeah.
2017. And Joe was like, why don't you just tell them in China just to make more, and like when we need it, they'll just send it to us. They'll be ready.
Yeah.
So then I just like messaged my supplier and I was like, hey, can you just make more? And he's like, yeah, sure, just like 20% deposit up front. I'm like, okay, like no problem. And then that like I was like, oh shoot, this is how we don't go out of stock ever. And like that's and I told our brands that we fulfill for now to do that too. Like
Yeah.
some of our best brands that are really good at like staying in stock don't send us one big shipment. They send us shipments every week, but are smaller
Wow.
shipments. So it's like rather than sending me 100,000 units once every 2 months, send me like 5,000 every week. Like, I don't care if I'm gonna
Yeah.
have another truck come and deliver it. It doesn't bother us. I rather you be in stock and you have less inventory in America on hand, because then like I don't have to have a bigger facility. You don't have to pay a lot in storage and like complain about storage fees, and like your cash isn't stuck in inventory. It's just
Yeah.
always like as it comes in, you're selling. As it comes in, you're selling it. Um, and some people listen to me, some people don't. But I just like found that one hack long
I
time ago.
think
I
it's
just
so
share it
smart.
whenever, um,
Yeah,
yeah.
really,
But
really smart.
no,
That's so cool. What an interesting story.
yeah, yeah. But that got us all into it. Obviously, it's not a podcast. It's a podcast about you, not about me.
No, no, it's so interesting.
Yeah. But like, no, this is definitely like very interesting, and I think another piece of this too is like, one, obviously you were successful in D2C, you were successful in Amazon, you were successful. I'm assuming you're successful in Target right now as well too.
Mhm.
Where has been like drawbacks, like kind of where has stuff failed? Like obviously inventory is one thing, but like have you had like just issues with like payment processors, like ad accounts, like just like the product not working? Like I'm just curious, like other issues that have come that like how you overcame them and stuff like that too.
Yes, there are so many fire drills on a day to day basis, which you probably totally empathize with as well. I think a lot of it is around inventory, especially also trying to understand like where to allocate inventory when you are running low. Um, we've sort of had hangups on like which channel do you allocate this towards, from either like a profitability perspective or from a
Sure.
customer perspective, relationship perspective. So that has been really difficult as we've scaled and opened up more channels. Gosh, there's just so many like things that have probably gone wrong over the years. I also think that like anything, meta is volatile, especially we launched in the era after that big iOS 14.5 update.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so a lot of things were changing when we first started advertising on Meta. So it hasn't been all smooth sailing like perhaps I made it sound. I mean, there's weeks where you just see CAC go haywire and you have no idea why, and you start testing rapidly to overcome it. And then very often it just course corrects. So it's really, really hard. I think now in year 4, we've sort of stayed the course. And like I said, try to identify certain patterns and lean in when the going is good. But it's definitely an ever changing landscape. I also think, and you can probably relate to this too, like the recommendations of investors and other founders are always rapidly changing. Like when we first got started, there was still sort of that obsession with top line growth and how
Right.
quickly can you move it. Then it very quickly transitioned to, can you run a profitable business and how do you get there? Build a team, don't build a team, lean into agencies, don't invest in product development, only lean into certain heroes. So there's a bit of whiplash, I think, in the consumer market on best practice. So you have to stick to what's working relative to your brand and how you want to run the business.
I actually wrote this question down, and like I'm curious, like if you were to do this again, would you? I don't know if it's public. Like, how much money have you raised, and like, would you have raised that money again if you did this?
Yeah, we've raised 4.8 to
Okay.
date. I would have raised that money again, but I think I say I would have raised that money because had I been successful in how much I wanted to raise, I probably would have regretted raising that much. I think it's so hard to fundraise for hardware, that in almost every round I went out to raise a certain amount and I landed short of what I
Okay.
wanted. But I think most of that money went to early product development, certifications, testing
Mm-hmm.
for hardware. So we've been living off of our balance sheet now for 18 months at least.
Right.
So I am glad that that's kind of what we've raised. I think there's certain investors that have come along for the ride with us that have been incredibly additive and helpful. But I certainly wouldn't recommend brands raising like a ton of money in this environment and really in any environment.
Sure. It's like definitely with the hardware piece, you need to raise money. I think that
Yeah,
there's a piece of that where you're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to develop a brand new product. Like that just is what
exactly.
it is. Um, but I do think there's always like that diminishing return at a point of like raising money where it's just like you don't need too much. You need just enough to get you to where you're at now, where it's like I'm profitable, I'm making money, and I don't need to focus on. I don't need to rely on that cash from an investor to run the business. The business kind of runs itself. Um, I am curious though, like as you kind of grow in retail now, do you think that's going to be a cash issue as well too?
It definitely changes the cash dynamic. I think we are leading on like a blend of debt,
Mhm.
and obviously just cash flow to sort of bridge that gap. But interestingly enough, I have kind of been surprised at like how profitable retail can be. I think a lot of
Okay.
people get really nervous about like the gross margins associated with retail. But really, when you walk it all the way down to contribution, because of the immense cost of direct advertising that's associated with a high growth direct to consumer company, you're typically actually making a lot more off of relationships like a Target or a Walmart. So if we can continue to navigate like the cash flow required of giving inventory and waiting payments from retailers, I actually think the company long term will be increasingly profitable.
Because in a sense, you don't have to pay Facebook. You just, yeah.
100%. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Like the customers are there.
so in a sense, like you're just discounting your product, selling it to Target, obviously, or like putting it on the shelf at Target, but not paying any of the acquisition costs anymore because Target's the one giving the customers, in a sense, to you.
Yeah, exactly. We hold MAP pricing. So our price is the same like across the board from a customer perspective. But yeah, obviously they just take their margins. They pay
Sure.
us wholesale. But we have so little like trade spend associated with those channels that yeah, it's much more
That's
profitable.
awesome. Like, did your broker help you at all, like, kind of like in store marketing and stuff like that too, or is it kind of just like, hey, congrats, you got in, like, figure it out?
Yes. Yeah, they definitely did. I think the big thing for us was we really wanted an end cap because
Mhm.
um probably like the beard straightener, like if you just see it, you think that's a hair straightener. You don't realize, all of the features that are involved to make it an iron and that you actually shouldn't use it on your hair at all. So we felt like there was some consumer education. So we were very lucky to negotiate an end cap and have a certain amount of signage and associated education.
Cool.
But I actually think that what has been most successful about Target is that by being online for so long, we've sort of created this marketing engine that we can point to any channel. So we know sort of what works at this point from a conversion
Explain that to me. What does
perspective.
that mean exactly?
Yeah, so basically, like we have done so much online marketing with Meta that we know what type of creatives
I
typically
see.
convert. And so most of our marketing spend we put behind conversions on our online site, but we can take some of that same marketing budget and sort of point it towards target. We have the landing pages
Mm.
be our target PDP, and that is able to drive like meaningful scale, but it's actually much more efficient because of like the high intent target buyer. So we sort of have this marketing engine that now can fuel new channels that
Awesome.
we're continuing to open.
I'm curious too, like, what's your goal with the business over the next, say, 2, 3 years? And like, is this a business that you want to run for a while, that you want to sell? Like, I'm curious kind of where your thoughts and your partner's thoughts are on it too.
Yeah. Well, I think right now we're just so heads down in the business. We, again, are only like 3.5, 4 years old. And so I feel like in many ways, the company's grown quickly, but we do just feel like we're just getting started.
Mhm.
So I think our 2, 3 year initiative is really to open up wholesale in a much more meaningful way. Target's our first sort of mass retail partner. So there's a lot to be done there. But we have this success story of a hero product with a few accessory products and some other hero products gaining traction. But long term, I think we'd really like to sort of own this clothing care category that has
Okay.
been overlooked for an incredibly long time.
Like, is there? Yeah, there really isn't any competition in this space.
Not really. I mean, there's a lot of legacy brands there, but there aren't many D2C incumbents or modern
It's just like
incumbents.
you walk into like Nordstrom's or Macy's and like on the bedding section where like nobody goes, like they're selling heat irons and stuff like that. That's kind of who you're competing with.
Exactly. Yeah, there's so many products like hangers, hampers, laundry detergents, sewing kits, iron steamers, fabric shavers. So many products that live in this category, but it's just a lot of legacies and sort of private labels.
Definitely. Um, I think the last few things that I have too, I always ask this one because I feel like people get easy value from this. Like, what are some like just like simple like just Shopify apps you guys use that like you think have been super helpful? Like 2 or 3 of them that like, hey, like we couldn't run our business without these. Because I feel like some people can just be like, oh, that's an easy one I can just add to my store and kind of build and stuff like that too. That, and also if you have like any good agencies you can want to shout out to, I feel like that's also awesome. Because I feel like people are always like, oh, like what can I watch this? Like, oh, this sounds great. They grew so fast. Like they're in Target so successful. Like, what's some actionable things that I can take or people I can reach out to kind of help their business grow? I'm curious. Like some apps or just some agencies you think are really really good too.
Yeah, absolutely. So operations wise, tax jar,
Okay,
sales tax is just like such a headache. And so that has saved us a lot of time in just being able to manage that. We work with Replo quite a bit to create landing pages. There are a ton of landing page agencies out there that will charge you like $8,000 a landing
I've
page.
seen those. Those are
You
nuts.
can do it yourself. There's no reason why you can't teach yourself, and Replo makes it really easy. So we try and be pretty agile with our landing page testing through that. Um, in terms of like expanding to wholesale, I remember just feeling like it was so confusing of like how would I start selling with like Goop or Nordstrom or Crate and Barrel or like how do you actually facilitate that? And there's a backend app called Collective, which is sort of like a drop ship app that allows you to connect to a bunch of retailers and just have all of their orders still flow through your Shopify store. So that has helped cut down on a lot of like the logistics headaches associated with becoming
Sure.
omni-channel. And then agency wise, I'll point to a few of our favorites. Our Amazon agency is called Crush. They are incredible. They've grown in really, really quickly. They have a bunch of direct to consumer clients that have transitioned to Amazon. So I can't say enough good things. Our website designer is called Luster. And they are also a really great, slightly more affordable website agency. And then I think again, for things like initial branding, I feel pretty strongly about this. There are branding agencies that will charge $100,000, $200,000 to create a brand. There's also freelancers on Fiverr that can probably do similar-ish work for like $1,000. We did our entire like brand portfolio and vision for I think like $5K.
You use a freelancer for all that.
Yeah, we did
Yeah,
our
I
entire
would
like
think you use like
brand.
Red Antler for it type of thing.
Yes. Well, Red Antler, I know has an awesome like reputation, but my opinion is that you can do it for a lot cheaper.
I might ask you for that recommendation for myself after this too.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
really does look like you guys spent $100,000 for the whole brand and everything. So
Well, that's nice of you to say, but no, it was done by a freelancer based out of London for a few $1,000s.
that's great. No, that's amazing. I think honestly, like the wholesale app, we say it was Collective. It's called.
Yes.
I think that's a great value because a lot of brands want to get into retail and be fully omni-channel. So I think that's a big like opening that they can kind of easy app to install. I'm sure you can kind of figure it out as you go through. And also what you said on the agency is like don't spend $8,000 for a lander when you can use Replo and do it yourself. And also branding agencies, yeah, there are literally branding agencies that will charge you 50, 80, 100K for like a whole brand guideline and the whole nine, where you can find someone for a few $1,000s. So I think that's super super helpful for people. Is there any other fun stuff you want to share? Because I have no more questions for you, but anything other things you want to share?
Not really. I think my email is always open. I like credit so much of our success to just like founders willing to take a call with me and stop me from making a big mistake that I was about to make. So I do try and pay it forward as much as possible. So my
Sure.
door is always open.
Yeah, cold. I feel like cold email is a undervalued skill for sure.
100%. Yeah. And ChatGPT is there to make it really easy now.
Exactly. Yeah, if you don't know what to write, just ask ChatGPT and they'll write it for you.
Exactly. Tell them a little bit about the person and spit it out.
There you go. That's super funny. What's the best place for people to find other than your email, like Instagram, Twitter, or LinkedIn, or just go to Nori.com and buy something?
Yes,
Yeah.
well, always Nori.com, but LinkedIn as well. My
Okay.
inbox is open there.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely link it on the bottom, like in the description. But this has been awesome. Like, I really do appreciate it, and like, I just think it's awesome how fast you guys have grown, and like we've said, you guys are building a product in a boring category. And I do think it's like no, I didn't mean it boring in the
Oh
negatively
gosh, no,
way.
no,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
It is boring. It is a boring
As
category.
I said that, I was like, oh shit, that didn't sound so good. But you know what
No,
I
no,
meant.
no. That's part of why it's exciting. Bringing
Yeah,
excitement to a boring category.
No, 100%. I think as people do think through developing new products and starting new brands, that's a good idea. Like, don't go into the protein aisle section, or don't go into like the gummy section, because those are very competitive. Try to find something where like hasn't been innovated in years, where you can kind of compete against only yourself. I think that's like a really big thing we took from this too. And operationally too, I think there's a lot to learn, just kind of building products abroad and thinking through tariffs and thinking through inventory projections, stuff like that. This has been great. And Courtney, I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so great to chat.
You got it. And for everyone else watching this, this is episode 89. So this has been awesome. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Find Courtney on LinkedIn. Make sure you check out Nori. They're at Target. So if you go into Target and you see them, make sure you buy it for your girlfriend, for your mom, for your wife. But anyways, appreciate you guys, and catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Amazing.
Let me
Thank you.